a finalist from Oregon, right? And wouldn't they play before him? That's number one. Number two, his dad was blatant when saying, "Hey, I don't want you to go there." So that's kind of some of the topic I wanted to talk a little bit about. The next thing is that about what has he got to prove? What do you think? What he could have done differently? Right? Is he paying for the sins of his fathers, or is he paying for the sins of himself? And the last part that I probably want to bring up. Can you hear me, Papa Ball? Okay.
Yes, sir.
All
Yes,
right,
sir.
because I keep getting frozen for some reason. And the last thing I'd like to bring up, let me get rid of some of these. I got YouTube channels. Why do I seem like I got all this thing going on? And the last thing I like to talk about is us. You really can't really feel bad for in one sense. I mean, you can feel bad for his pride, but it's not like he's coming from, he's coming from a family that like he needs to be here, right? To take care of his family. You know what I mean? He comes from money. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
He comes from money, this and that, and there's just topics to talk about. I'm not making a choice. I'm not judging. I'm not doing anything. But there's a lot of kids that get a draft pick that they're looking for generational money, right? It's them changing their lives and their families. So, first one, let's go to the first one. What do you think? What do you think is going through Cleveland when they have all those quarterbacks and they've already done a lousy job on quarterbacks?
Maybe they're hoping to find that diamond out of one of them. I mean,
That's a lot of roughs.
they got five quarterbacks that
They have five quarterbacks.
they've had a rough time with quarterbacks. Maybe they're hoping one of these five will be the one.
Well, if I had to pick, I would say that one, Flacco's going to be okay. He did well with them last time, and he's steady. Is he going to take you to Super Bowl? No, but can he help you look a little not Cleveland Brownish? Of course. Deshaun Watson's hurt, so he's not playing. He's just sitting back on his $240 million, right? So let's take him out of the game, right? You have who else did they get? Did they get Zach? Well, they picked another quarterback. They had the kid from Oregon, and Oregon has shown to produce some pretty decent quarterbacks, right? And he was a Heisman finalist, right? And then they have someone else. Who do they have? Zach Wilson. They have who's the fifth? Who's another quarterback they have?
We have Zach Wilson.
No, you have. That's right. You have Zach Wilson. Cleveland. So, what do you think was their thoughts? That was it? Just trying to after their dad, after Deion said he doesn't want his son to go there.
Well, I mean, I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, honestly, is they're just trying to find Kenny Pickett? Yeah. They're just trying to find a quarterback. I think one that's going to be their franchise quarterback.
Well, I don't think I think that they know that that's a good point. I think that they're figuring, it's inexpensive money to get a Shador. We get a shot. We got these other guy. Flacco is just a stopgap, right? I mean, Flacco's not their franchise quarterback. I mean, he's older. Can he help them at least get some decent play? But think about it. Look at the problem Tomlin has, right? Tomlin can't get a decent pick because he keeps having a winning record. Yet he keeps getting knocked out in the first round, right?
Yeah.
So what good is it to have Flacco? As much as I'm proud of Flacco, and not that he needs me to be proud of him, but at his age to come back and play the well he has, God bless him, right? But my point being is, what good is it if you have an okay record and you're not in a chance to be able to pick a quarterback the following year? The other thing I'm thinking is that they don't have anything to lose, because if they don't do well, they picked Shador Sanders, they're just going to have another pick next year. And I think they got a couple picks already from their trade when they traded with who did they trade with? It took the third they took Jacksonville. They got a couple of good picks from Jacksonville. right? When
Yeah.
they traded with
Yeah.
Jacksonville, so Jacksonville can get Travis Hunter. So I think, from my perspective, that's what they're looking. They're just trying, like you said, they're taking shots. They got nothing to lose. It's just a matter of who's going to be there, because you can only you can carry three. Someone's going to be on the practice squad. You got Kenny Pickett, right? That was a high. Wasn't Kenny Pickett a high draft pick for Pittsburgh?
Go ahead.
Right? And then you got Watson's out, right? So you got Flacco, you got Kenny Pickett, you got the pick you picked before Shador Sanders from Oregon, and then you got Shador Sanders. So one of those guys are either going to have to be on the practice squad, or I don't think they can keep five, right? Or just because he's on injured reserve, because Sean Watson's out. That guy paid a lot of money. I don't think he's played a full season.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
So, all right. So
He's
let's
just money.
Yeah. So let's move on from there. So there, I guess you're like me. We have no idea why they would hit the pick. I'm glad he was happy. What do you think happened to Shador? Why do you think he fell?
I don't want to say it wasn't cockiness. It was, I think, his whole attitude of, well, he didn't go to the combine for one.
He didn't go to the Big 12 Pro Combine either.
He had his own little private thing, like it was all about him. And I think coaches and teams are trying to stay away from people like that.
Yep. I think that hurt him. I think that I'd hate to see I'd hate to say I'd hate to find out that it was also because of Dion. The only thing I could think of Dion that would be a reason is that Dion has stated that if he coaches in the NFL, he would like to coach his sons. Now, it doesn't mean he'd coach his son Shador or he would coach Shiloh. But that could be intimidating to a GM and a coach, right? Saying, hey, if I pick this kid,
Yeah.
Deion Sanders is looming in the back. That is acceptable to me. What's not acceptable to me is them worrying about Deion poking his nose, making comments, doing this. I just don't see Deion, as much as braggadocious Deion was as a player, I don't see him doing that because he was also a fellow coach. And I don't think he would allow someone to do that to him. And he was always spoken about as being a great teammate. Like no one is as braggadocious as he was, no one in the locker room didn't like him. So he was braggadocious outside for him, but he performed.
Yeah.
There was no confusion there. So I think that combined with him wanting to coach, and then the other thing is he wasn't even at the draft, but yet he had his own booth with legendary dollar sign. Like if you're not there, why do you have like a big couch with what? I don't understand that. I just I don't understand that, and you feel bad for him in one sense, and like I said earlier, Papa Paul, see what your thoughts. I don't feel bad because there's other kids that drafted that's their livelihood. I mean,
Yeah.
Shador comes from money. Deion's got his money. He don't have to worry about money.
A lot of kids that are just doing what they can to try and make it so they can get the money.
Exactly. So, you feel bad because, it was a shock, right? But, I don't feel as bad as these other kids that, hey, they're not coming from money. They want to be able to make it, right? So, but the last piece I want to state on this, I want to see your opinions. But now he's got something to prove. I mean, Brady was picked sixth round.
He's got a lot to prove at this point now.
Yeah. So, I mean, use that as motivation. Use that as, a chip on your shoulder.
Yeah, I mean, he can't go in there thinking he's all that. He's got to go in there and say he's got something to prove. He's not a backup. He's not going to be, on the practice squad. He wants to be at least the backup, if not getting ready to start at one point during the season.
Well, he's just got to do all the homework and prepare it. I mean, he's got to show why they made a mistake. and then he's also got a shot to earn a place somewhere else, right? I mean, at the end of the day, do your best that you can, and I think he can play. I feel he can play in the NFL, right? But at the end of the day, he's now got to show it, right? Because when they were analyzing all his numbers and his numbers look good, he threw like 150 screen passes. He threw like his completion rate was high, but they were high completion like passes. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
He did make some good plays down the field, but a lot of his passes were, those short, quick release passes. So, hey, we'll see what happens there. But I wanted to have a little bit of discussion because there's more stuff coming out and finding out he didn't go to pro day, he didn't go to the Big 12 pro day. I mean, why? I mean, you're not, you didn't have all those other pieces. I think Mr. Sunshine is trying to come in. Is he there? Mr. Sunshine, you there? How's your internet? Maryland doesn't have good internet. We can't hear you. Can you hear us, Byron?
He's got his mute on right now.
You got to unmute. Unmute. Can I unmute him? There you go. How you go? Can you talk now?
I don't know what's going on with
There we go. We can hear you now.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you, Byron. Can you hear us? He only has internet problems when he travels, so I don't know if it's the place that he travels. You got to get some carrying Wi-Fi. All right, let's move on from Shedeur. We were just talking about a few things about Shedeur and see what's going on. But let me tell you something. There's a lot of quarterbacks, so maybe they'll even make a trade. Maybe they'll trade him, see if they can get something on it. You don't ever know.
Never know.
All right, let's go on. All right, so I'm gonna pull up my. I'm happy. Byron, I think you and I talked about this. I'm pretty happy with the Giants selections. Right, they picked Abdul Carter, which we need an edge rusher. I like Jackson Dart. He's a runner. He played at Ole Miss. His record. He's got a really good record. I mean, he was like 10-3, 11-3 in his last 2 years.
I think you'll be happy with him there.
Yeah, I mean, he's a runner, right? Had text me, goes, hey, my friends are saying we should have picked Shedeur. I'm like, nah, I would have picked. I like this kid, Jackson Dart. Everyone was talking about him. The reason why I like him is that he was a runner, and with our line, we need a quarterback that can run. Right? You can't just have someone sitting back there.
Yeah, that would help.
And the difference, what I told my son, he played in the SEC, and weren't they in the running? Were they in the playoffs or no? I think they made it to the playoffs. They were in the top 12.
No.
Okay. Well, they were in the top 25. Bottom line is he played in the SEC, which is a tougher conference than Colorado. So I think Jackson Dart will be good. You know what I mean? We'll see what happens. We got Russell Wilson, we got Jameson, Winston, and now we got Jackson Dart. I'm pretty sure Tommy Cutlets is going to be on the practice squad. What are your thoughts on those picks, Byron?
Yeah, I would say so too.
Yeah, I mean, Jackson Dart should definitely be.
Well, you need to talk about like the other picks that they had. The defensive lineman from Toledo, to give
Darius
Lawrence
Alexander. Darius
they
Alexander.
They picked the running back from Arizona State, Scadaboo.
Cam Scadaboo. Yep. We picked an offensive line, Marcus Mabo.
Yep.
We picked
that's
up
a good pick.
A tight end and a cornerback.
Well, the tight end is like from Nebraska, and the tight end is from Nebraska. And he was hurt, a lot in Nebraska. So they're probably going to go with as far as like potential for him, because if he's not injured, he's a pretty good tight end. He's not bad at all. And then they said Embo, the offensive tackle that they picked, that he could possibly be a starter, coming into the season if they switch him to guard and then just so you know, they switched Evan Neal to guard now, so he's going to be a guard and see how it works out,
which is
for
his
him there.
original position, right? That's his original position, correct?
Uh, no. Well, he played all three. He played left tackle, right tackle, and left
What did he
guard
play
at
at Alabama?
So he played all three. He played three of the positions. Like his freshman year, he was like a guard. Then he moved to tackle. His sophomore year. Then he moved to left tackle. His senior year, and we we figured that we could all right, we got Andrew Thomas, now we got this kid, so we're good at the end. But the last 3 or 4 years he's either hurt or he's just not very good at all. So now they're going to make him guard. He's 6'7", 340 pounds. Maybe they could salvage his career because they're not going to pick up his what do you call it, his option, the 5th-year option. They're not going to pick that up.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, hey, I'm happy with what we picked. Right. This is probably the best draft that we've had since we started this show. Right. So I'm pretty happy with I'm pretty happy with what we have. When we started the season before the draft, I think the under over was 4 games, winning 4 games. Now it's up to 5.5. Right. How they get 0.5, I don't know. But are you taking the under or the over, Byron?
Under.
Oh, really? Papa Paul, what would you do?
Until I see something, I have to go under right now.
All right, I'm gonna be the optimist. I'm gonna take the over because I think only because
really.
Yeah, because Malik Neighbors was a superstar last year with no quarterback. Like as bad as old or however you want to see Jameson, Winston, and Russell Wilson, they're an upgrade from the quarterbacks we had. Is that fair?
That's fair.
Okay. Malik Neighbors lit it up with whoever was at quarterback. Russell Wilson likes throwing the deep ball. So does Winston. They both like throwing the deep ball. The problem with Winston, he also likes throwing the deep ball to the other team. Right? So I think, now, are they going to go 10-7? No. I mean, but I think they'll win, at least 6-7 games. You know what I mean? They'll pick off some. They'll be, something, if we can we've been addressing the line. I like Stacy as a running back. My understanding, this running back coming in is really good. We're beefing up our defense, in the NFC East, anything happened. Biggest challenge you got that we got to say, because it's how weird. A couple years ago, we were the NFC East was the worst. Remember that? How bad they were? Now you got the Eagles, you got Washington. Both are pretty powerhouse teams, right? So, Washington and the Eagles, and Dallas, you never know what could happen with Dallas. Dak is coming back. We'll go from there, but I just think Dallas is going to have a rough time. But I'm happy with those giant picks. I like to see some progress. Papa, someone got something new to streaming, looking to level up. Okay, I don't know what this is. Oh, that's Papa Paul. Okay. Anyways, I'm pretty happy with it. What's your thoughts of the picks? Some of these players, Papa Paul, for the Giants?
No, not really. Except for Jackson Dart.
Well, here's something funny, and we'll move on. Right. So we were on when Thibodeau got picked. One of our co-hosts came on, and I have it written down because I have an outline of my thing. I have written down that he's like, "Oh, this guy could be the next Lawrence Taylor," and I went off. I'm like, "What?" I mean, it's like I hate when guy coming into leagues can be the next Michael Jordan. Until you do that, you're not. Period. I mean, it is. Look, Marino may not have won a Super Bowl, but don't tell me this guy's the next Dan Marino when he comes to the Dolphins until he proves it. Is that a fair statement?
That's fair.
Right?
I totally agree with that.
Hate that. Right? So I hate that. Don't tell me he's the next Dan Marino. Deliver like Dan Marino did. Went to one Super Bowl, Didn't get a Super Bowl, but man, you guys dominated the AFC East, right? You're always there. So this guy goes, so he goes online, he goes, he's going to be next to Lawrence Taylor. I go, what? Who? So, okay, no problem. So we're on the show last week, and someone made a comment similar to that about Abdul Carter, and me and Byron just shut him down. Don't say that, don't, because we felt like it was a jinx. You know what I mean? We don't.
That was last year with we had Taj Washington and Malik Washington, and they're saying they're the next Marx brothers. Like, no.
Don't do that, right? So Byron and I went nuts. Byron, to make this things worse, you know what Abdul Carter asked for, right? He asked to wear Lawrence
56.
Taylor's number.
56. He's lost his mind.
Man, Lawrence Taylor was like, "What? Go make your own name." You know, and remember, you were stating that is he going to ask Phil Simms to get his number because he played 11 in college. And now he goes and asks for Lawrence Taylor's number. So we're like, no.
The number's retired. So, it is what it is.
56 is retired, and so was 11. But last week you had stated because he played 11, was he going to ask Phil Simms if he can get his number? Remember?
Yeah.
I can't tell if you're frozen. The irony in that is he ended up asking Lawrence Taylor, not Phil Simms. So anyhow, let's keep the Lawrence Taylor talk away. Deliver, be your own guy, be your own number. Abdul Carter, we have faith in you. Giants play great defense. Let's have some good defense going on, and we'll go from there. And the other thing is, I think that with Dable's job on the line, I think he's going to try to work some magic with Jackson Dart, right? Jackson Dart's not going to start. It's going to be Russell Wilson. Somewhere along the line, Jameson Winston's going to be there. One thing about Winston, you got to give him credit. He's a journeyman, and he always wastes his time, right? He never comes in. I will tell you this, though. If Russell Wilson comes into camp and gets injured again, I'm done with him. Because that's what happened to him with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yep.
I think it's just past. His time is past. Give it to Winston. Let Winston do what he needs to do. Have Dart learn from them, and then bring Dart in later in the season. You know what I mean? Because look at Marino didn't start till late in the season, right? And I'm not comparing them to Marino by any means, but how they're throwing these kids into the fire right away. They didn't do that with Marino. What was that, Byron?
No, the best thing to do is the kids just the whole year. Don't put him no matter what. Just don't put maybe like the last 1 or 2 games. At the end of the year, put him in then. But don't play him at all, the whole year.
I agree, but when the coaches' jobs are on the line, and you trade up for this pick, somebody's, and if you're not winning, someone's going to say something. That's all, right? I think it's very hard not to play a guy you picked in the first round. And if you're not doing well, or those other quarterbacks aren't doing well, right? And so we see what happens. But let him wait his time. I think it's great. Like again, I think Green Bay does a great job of that. They've proven to be successful in the formula of picking someone, let them wait for 4 years. So let's go on from there. All righty, Mr. Papa Paul. I know you were excited to talk about some of your draft picks. We got your draft picks. I got your draft picks up over here. Let's talk a little bit about Dolphins, and we'll go into a few other items here. But I got your picks right here. So tell me, what are your thoughts on the picks you got?
We got some physicality. That's for sure. That's what we've been asking for, and that's what we got. Between Grant and that our offensive guard, however you say his last name.
I'm pulling him now. Go ahead. What do you think about? What do you think that yours right? Why do you think he came out?
Who? What?
The quarterback from Texas you guys picked up.
Oh, yours?
Yours, yeah.
I think because the reason we picked him, I believe, is because their system is a lot like ours. He's
Well,
he's
I'm not saying why you pick him. I'm at the first question is why would he come out? Why wouldn't he go to the transfer portal? He could have made $8 million and go into get to the draft and go to the Dolphins. I'm just curious about that. Could have got one more year under his belt because I think he was leaving because I think he was getting edged out for Archie Manning.
possibly. I mean, maybe he just thought it was his time to get into the NFL and not wait another year. He might not have as good a chance next year with some of the prospects that we're looking at for next year.
That's true. He had $8 million coming to him with NIL though. So you guys got a defensive tackle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kenneth Grant from Michigan. He seems pretty
Yep.
good, right? You needed to beef up your defense, right?
Yes,
Your
and
number
that's what we
two
did
pick.
a lot of.
I'm sorry.
I said that's what we did a lot of.
Yeah,
was
excellent.
defense.
And losing Jalen Ramsey was terrible.
Well, there's no guarantee he's gone yet, but more than likely he's a post June 1st release and all.
I like him. He's a good corner. I wonder why he wants to get out of there. You picked round 2. You picked an offensive guard, which is good. Lineman from overall from Las Vegas.
A big one.
Yeah, a big.
Yeah, he's a big guy.
Offensive guard. Yep.
He's played all positions. You know, he's played left guard, left tackle, right tackle, but he's played mostly guard.
Well, they said he's got a great opportunity to win the current vacancy.
Oh yeah. Well, he'll take over Eichenberg's spot more than likely.
And then round 5, you picked up another DT from Maryland.
Yeah.
You definitely needed reinforcements in your defensive line.
Jordan Phillips. I liked him. One thing I liked him, as he's on the phone with the GM Greer and Coach McDaniels, that he wasn't concerned about anything except for asking for the playbook. He wanted the playbook right then and there as he's on the phone. So he's ready to learn and learn a lot.
That's the kind of player you want, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, hold on. My system, man. Everything is running slow today. My system is slow. Who's your next pick?
Next one was, I'm not sure the next one after that, after Phillips.
You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
I have it here. It's just I'm having a problem. I'm having internet issues.
Jason Marshall, cornerback from Florida.
Yeah, cornerback. He's supposedly a good cornerback from what one of my guys was talking about earlier. He's supposed to be possible starter. He's got to work his way up because we don't have much for cornerbacks as it is, especially if we do lose Ramsey.
Right.
This kid was a 5-star recruit coming out of high school. So.
Yeah. He was at one point in the top 30.
Here we go.
Yep.
I got it back.
Next one, I got it back. A safety. He played with Phillips, Jordan Phillips at Maryland.
Yep, you got Jordan Phillips at Maryland. You got a cornerback Trader, safety. Oh, so you guys are really bulking up the defense. You got a running back. How do you think about that running back from Oklahoma State? Oklahoma State usually has good running backs. Ollie Gordon.
That's what I heard. He's different than any of our other running backs. He's bigger. He's going to be our short and one, or a short and goal, or a short and 1 yard for a first, 3rd and 1, stuff like that. I believe for our team, what we've been looking for, what we need. He's quite a healthy.
I think it's going to happen with.
Junior year, he won the Doak Walker Award his junior year. So he's pretty good. The kid from Oklahoma State. And then he
Yeah.
kind of tailed off his going senior year.
Well, it seems like you guys are doing pretty good. You're beefing up your defense. You're getting some offensive
Well, it's I give our draft a B minus, but
players. What do you think
um,
is you got?
I am I'm just not sure until I see them play some. Until I see them at training camp and I see them play some, I can't really say how well we did, but because it's a big transition going from college to NFL, and it's a wait and see game.
I'm reading up on yours now. You have Zach Wilson. You got yours now. Starting bubble won't displace Wilson and Job, and likely won't displace Wilson. Is backup at least not this season. He eventually developed into Miami's back quarterback. Wow, this guy was like a 5-star recruit. Wasn't yours up for a Heisman Trophy at one point? He
Yeah.
dropped pretty bad.
He was a #1 overall prospect.
That's interesting for
He's
him
not
to
that
leave
big.
and give
He
up
was
$8
always- he
million
was-
to go in round 7. What's that?
He was hurt a lot too at Texas. He was hurt
Yeah.
Yeah,
a lot.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Well,
Archie Manning filled in and did pretty good, but they gave it back to him. And then you got another D tackle from Georgia Tech
Yep.
in round 7. So you guys are definitely,
Yep.
defensive focused. Again, like I always said, keep saying to you guys, I'd like to see McDaniels. Hold on a second, because I got too much open up. Force quit, preview, quit, finder. My battery is running super low. All right, there we go. And I gotta get this thing fixed. Finder. Let's get messages. Quit. All right. But what do you think? How do you guys think? How do you think you're going to do this year offensively?
Right now, until like I was saying, until I see them in training camp and in preseason and stuff. Right now, I still only say we're only gonna win 5 or 6 games.
Or you're like the Giants?
Yeah, that's the way I feel right now.
Wow.
Wow, man, what a difference from like just a couple years ago. Like it's just amazing how fast teams can change. Because, like I said, like you think about what I said in the beginning of the show. I got to charge my battery. I was saying in the beginning of the show that the NFC East was terrible, and now we got a Super Bowl, we got a Super Bowl champion, and we got another team that's on the rise, which is in Washington. So it's amazing how fast, and the sad part is the Dolphins, right? Once Brady was gone, I mean, and then you guys were doing pretty good. The opportunity was there. I picked you guys one of the years to win the NFC East because I didn't trust Buffalo. Remember, I felt Buffalo would always tail off at the end of the year.
We had our opportunity to win it, and we blew it ourselves. We had to win one game in order to get the AFC East, and at 1 out of 4 games, and we didn't do it.
And Giants had to lose one game to get the #1 pick, and we blew it too. We went from the #1 draft pick to #3. That's when we beat Indianapolis.
Tommy DeVito.
Yeah, it was terrible. It was terrible. Well, look.
No, that was Drew Lock did that.
Do you think this is Daniels' last year? You think they're going to give him an extension? What do you think is going to happen with Daniels?
It's going to depend on how we start out. If we start out off like we did last year, where we go like 3-5 or something like that, he'll definitely be on the hot seat and probably be his last year.
The sad part about it, that when he first came, he looked like, with his glasses and everything, like the offensive juggernaut genius. And then everything went sideways. And I don't understand how. I still don't understand. Maybe you can explain why he doesn't involve the tight ends more into your offense.
Well, he's a little bit, I guess, self-absorbed in a way because he's playing head coach and doing offensive play calling when he's got two offensive coordinators, and but he's doing offensive play calling, and his attitude is he would hand over the play calling if he thought it would do any good.
I got a comment saying there'll never be an LT. I agree, especially in today's league. You know what I mean? You can't do the things that LT did, but LT in itself won't be there. And then Ollie Gordon, Keith Lambert saying Ollie Gordon was a great pick. Marshall from Florida was questionable. Go ahead, Byron. You were gonna say? Byron?
So I'm looking at like the Dolphins schedule, and I said I'm looking at the Dolphins schedule. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
But anyway, they got like Atlanta, Buffalo, Carolina, Cleveland, Indianapolis, Buffalo again, New England Jets, Baltimore, Cincinnati, New Orleans, Tampa Bay, Chargers, Washington, New England Jets, and Pittsburgh. Yeah, it's a little rough.
Yeah, it's a tough
5 or 6
schedule.
games there that shouldn't be that tough.
Well, you always lose. You always lose the games that you shouldn't lose.
That's the problem. That's the problem. All right, let's move on. So, anything else on the picks you have here? I also have here. Santiago sent me some notes that reportedly the Giants gave up on back to Shador, because he was unprepared for the meeting. So a lot of things are starting to come out about what was going on. I mean, something went wrong here with this young man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think I just don't understand. So we'll move on. But I wanted to read that out. The Dolphins. Did you see about the Dolphins? They fined the team $250,000, and they fined the coach $100,000.
That was
Atlanta.
That was Atlanta. The Falcons.
That was Atlanta.
Yes, Atlanta. The Atlanta Falcons defensive coordinator was fined $100,000, and the Atlanta Falcons were fined $250,000 for the prank call they did to Shador Sanders. That's kind of, that was bad. I mean, I don't know what's in a 21-year-old mind to want to do that to somebody, but that was bad. Any comments or thoughts on that?
No, it's just sad.
Yeah, Byron.
He should have got fired. You figure if you have that kind of sensitive, material sitting around the house, and a kid goes on there, and he ain't a kid, he's 21 years old, goes on there and does what he did. The dad has to pay the consequences for his son's actions.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if he needs to be fired, right? I'm not sure if he needs to be fired. I could see, you have your computer open, you have adult kids, if you feel you have good kids, you're a good parent, you're not expecting them to make that stupid of a that was a mean move, right? And from what I hear, that coach is a stand-up coach, right? No one's, he's nothing bad about him or anything like that. So, but where the problem is that the kid put his father in a bad position. He put his father in a position to lose a job, like you said, because if you fire him, and now it's going to cost him $100,000. I would be collecting from my son.
Oh yeah,
I'm gonna put you on a payment plan. You're gonna pay me back for pure stupidity, and I'm gonna charge you interest. But so anyhow,
they're not talking about the other five. There was 5 or 6 other guys that the same thing, happened to them. That somebody was making prank calls. So how do you don't know that kid was a culprit with all the other ones, the other 5 or 6 that nobody knows.
I didn't hear about. I didn't hear about the other ones.
Yeah, there was. I know there was at least 2 or 3 other prank calls.
But see, this goes to say that the only one that like, how did you guys hear about that? Because I listen to a lot of the sports shows. No, I didn't hear one of them bring up anyone else other than it happening to Shador.
It was all the ones.
I heard it through some friends of mine who heard it. I don't know where they heard it from, but yeah, there was a couple others. I can't think of the names who it was done to.
And I'm not doubting you guys what you're saying. I'm just saying that like listening to Get Up, listening to First Take. The big talk was about Shador, and it happened to him. I didn't know it happened to somebody else, which goes to again by this guy's name himself. It's like he's the only headline. They don't mention the other people. And then like Byron said, if this kid did it to one, how do we know he didn't get the information to do it to have other people do the same thing? I mean, that's just cruel, though. I mean, like, what's wrong with you?
Here it is, right here from the.
Okay.
Here it is from the AP. They're saying Tyler Warren. They're still investigating Tyler Warren, kid from Penn State, Kyle McCord from Syracuse,
Yes.
Mason Graham. He's another top pick. They're saying him, and Chase Lunt. It was those four that they're talking about as far as received the prank calls.
And I didn't hear not one of them on any of the sports shows that I watch. And did they say which teams said they were drafting him? Byron?
What is it? No. So I think where'd he go? Oh man, Mason Graham. I think he went pretty high. He was like a top 5 pick. Tyler Warren, I think, went to the Colts. And McCord, I'm not sure where he went.
Well, let's hope they learn their lesson that doesn't happen.
Get to the Eagles.
And okay, hey, did you see that Eli Manning?
They're also saying Abdul Carter got one of those calls too.
Really, Byron? Did you get a call from the Manning group?
Yeah.
We're putting in a bid in.
I did, man. But that's why I'm down here, Ocean City. So we're.
Me and Byron gathering 5% a piece.
That's why I'm down here, Ocean City.
Put in our money for
meet
to
down
buy
here,
10%
over
of
dinner.
the Giants.
Yeah, okay.
Eli Manning is forming a minority ownership bid of the Giants. Good for him. Giants are reportedly worth $8 billion in valuation.
Well, see, that's where I tell people
my money right.
The Dolphins, Ross has sold off part of the Dolphins to Maris Group. 15% of the Dolphins belong to the Maris Group, and the Maris Group is publicly traded stock. So I bought some stock in the Maris Group, so I can say I own 1%. I own a percentage of the Dolphins. It might be 1% of 1%, but I own a percentage.
Hey, is there a stockholder? You own a piece. That's the company you own. You're an owner. It's no different than Joey Bag of Donuts that comes on a show. He owns a piece of the Green Bay Packers.
So
he's a Pittsburgh fan, but he owns a piece of the Green Bay Packers. But no, Byron and I are always kidding. Let's raise 5% a piece of $8 billion. Think about 10% of $8 billion is $800 million. So we'd have to come up with $400 million a piece. Yeah, I gotta dig deep in my pocket to find that one. Yeah, I think I'm good there. I'm good there too. But I'm glad to see Manning is looking to do that. I think Jackson Dart's going to be good because if Manning's around, they have Ole Miss ties, right? So I'm excited this year with the draft. Just not excited with I'm still got a bad taste in my mouth with Shane. Right, Dable. We'll see what comes out with Dable, but outside of that, let's see what else do I got here. Eli Manning for $8 billion by Dolphins. What do you think about Travis Hunter? Jaguars moving up to get Travis Hunter. Papa Paul.
That was a good pick for him, I think. I really do. They say they're going to use him both ways.
I think it's a good pick too. I think Jacksonville's a good place to go. I think Byron, you were just worried about it being hot for him, right? That's what we talked about last week.
Yes, Lord. Yeah, it was a little hot down there. A little hot to play 100
It's,
plays,
it's not as
100
hot in
snaps a game.
Jacksonville as it is in Miami, though.
I told you. I tried to tell him that last week. Jacksonville is like Southern Georgia.
Yep.
It gets cold. I mean, it does get hot, but it's not like South Florida hot,
No.
right? But I think it's a good pick because I think if he's going to play receiver, having Trevor Lawrence as a quarterback is a good mix there. And then if he could play both ways, Jacksonville likes to do stuff. What do you think they picked up? They pick up guys to be able to create the fanfare. I think the owner does a pretty good job of kind of just, trying to make the team relevant. And I think it was a good pick for Jacksonville. I like to see the kid do well, be honest with you. But I'm just curious how many snaps he's going to take. He cannot play the whole game, both sides. Byron?
That's what he wants to do.
That's what he wants. That wasn't a question.
That's
Do
what
you
they,
think he
you know,
can
that's
play
what he
in the
wants to do.
NFL?
So, and that's
What he wants to do and what they're going to let him do are two different things.
Well, they said they're going to use them both sides.
Using on both sides means you're going to get some plays on offense.
There you go.
It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to start as a receiver and start as a defensive back. I can't see you driving down the field, running your routes. All of a sudden, there's an interception, and you have to flip on the other side and play defensive back. I'd go right after you if I was a quarterback. Wouldn't you?
Well, depends on how good a shape this kid's in.
I would still take my shot as a quarterback. If I'm saying, hey, man, you guys are driving the whole way down the field, and I'm watching you run patterns, and whether you get the ball and get hit or you don't get the ball and you're running downfield, and now you're flipping over and covering one of my high-end receivers, I'll take that money all day long. I mean, imagine him playing defensive back against the Dolphins and then having to flip over and cover Tyreek Hill. That's a problem. I'd instantly throw the ball at Tyreek Hill.
a little bit.
Because you just ran 4, 5, 6, 7 plays downfield and you're going to be tired. So I think it's a good pick for them. I just want to see how they're going to be getting used.
Yeah.
What else you got, Byron? Anything else happening up there with Philly,
No, all good.
Washington? Any other moves happening there?
No, nothing.
All
in
quiet on the
Philadelphia.
set?
They just went to the White House the other day. Yeah. They went to the White House. They made a big to do that. Saquon went golfing with 45, 47. So that was the only thing around here.
Saquon went golfing where?
He went, golfing with him
With who?
with 45, 47. Trump.
He went golfing with Trump? You're breaking up.
Yes.
I didn't hear what you said.
Yes, he went golfing with Trump.
He went golfing
I
with
said
Trump.
yes.
Okay.
He went. He went.
It was 45th and 46th president.
They were a little upset in Philadelphia.
That he went golfing with the president?
Yes.
That's interesting. Why? Philadelphia is a Democratic state? It's a blue state?
Well, it flipped in the last election, so whatever. But it was a lot of the other teammates didn't go either. It was a bunch of them that did not go. Jalen Hurts didn't go either.
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts. Yeah. I was speaking to someone that had some insights to the Eagles. They tell me Jalen Hurts is not they didn't speak highly of him. Like in the locker room, it really was Saquon that changed it, but Jalen Hurts is like, he's not the guy that you would think, even though he's quiet and so forth, he's not like he's not very likable guy is what I was told. So I don't know how much true that is. Obviously it's hearsay, but obviously the last couple of years they've had issues in the locker room until this year when Saquon went there, because Saquon was a leader of that team. Would you agree? He made a big difference on the attitude of that team. and we'll see what happens. Papa Paul, I want to ask you a question because we brought this a couple times before we end the show. What do you think of them trying to stop the push tush?
Well, I mean, it's illegal for the defense to push players. You know, they can't push a player up into the other side or up into the air or anything. So why should it be legal for the offense?
Mm-hmm. I think Byron, you made that same point, didn't you? Like, we can't. A defensive player is literally going against four guys pushing him. Wasn't that your point? It's like we can't push a defensive nose tackle to the center, yet you're pushing three guys against the center against the nose tackle or a tackle, right? So, and I think everyone's argument is the fact that other teams are trying, they're just not as successful. It just still doesn't matter. It's the dynamics of if a defensive player can't push, let me stack the goal line and push it against you. Why should the offense be able to do that, right? The other thing, I think it hurts the running back. Like Saquon would have had a lot more. Good evening, Papa Paul and gentlemen on the panel of our Miami Dolphins fans. All right, crazy Dolphin fan. Good. Post banners. It's something. Don't tell me how to run the show. Tired. I don't know what you put in there. I think they should look into that because it's right. They either got to change something on defense or they got to change something on that push tush. They're trying to argue the fact that because other teams have tried and are not as successful as the Eagles, opinion that you, Papa Paul, and that players are not allowed to push each other, right? You can't push a guy into the center. You can't push a guy and so forth. So pretty much when you got three guys pushing against one guy, that's a lot of weight.
Yeah.
A lot of weight.
Right? I mean, and trying to figure out, and they're saying, hey, try to get low and so forth. It's still, you got a lot of players. So I was always taught you couldn't push or pull a player. So I don't know how all of a sudden, this is changed. But, it is what it is. That's not what won them the Super Bowl. But I think it takes away from the poor running back. How many touchdowns do you think Saquon would have had if they didn't have the push tush?
Quite a few more.
Most of those that Jalen Hurts had would have went to Saquon.
I was going to say about 10 more or at least 10 more.
What's that?
I was going to say he'd have at least 10 more touchdowns.
At least 10 more. Okay, awesome. All right, guys. Well, this is a little bit, get it up next week. Papa Paul, tell us how we can hear about you when your show is. How can the people get in touch with you?
YouTube, Facebook, YouTube mostly, WCFL Dolphins Talk. Sunday mornings at 9 a.m., Wednesday nights at 8 p.m.
All right, awesome. Look into it. Click into the link below. You'll be able to see the WCFL Dolphin Papa Paul show. Check out our show. He's got a lot of great people that give you some great football knowledge. They talk Dolphins. They talk all around the league. Byron, how long did you down there in Ocean City? How long was the ride? How was the traffic?
Like 3 hours, no traffic coming straight down, 13. None.
That's not bad
down here.
Really? And now,
I'm leaving
you're
tomorrow.
Ocean City, are you by the water?
Yep.
How's the food?
Yes, I have the lagoon on one side, like a seafood, a lot of seafood. Yeah, a lot of seafood.
How is it?
I have the ocean on the other side, and I got a bay on the other side. It's pretty good. It's not bad at all.
How's the seafood?
Just just people try to. Quite tasty. Very tasty.
Oh, awesome.
Just don't eat the pizza, man. The pizza's not like New York, New Jersey pizza.
The more south you go, the worse it gets. So don't worry. All right. Well, gentlemen, you have a good night. God bless. Papa Paul, tune into your show. And we really appreciate you joining. Wishing you the best of luck with the Dolphins and everything else that you do. Byron, as always, hope you and your mom had a great birthday, and we will talk to you guys next week. Peace. Don't forget, every Thursday live, 8 p.m., Jersey Boy Sports Talk. Oh, I want a quick shout out to Dr. Tyrance. He's my knee doctor. I have to get some arthroscopic surgery, clean up my knee. Then I'm doing some other pieces. 8 p.m. So Dr. Terrence, who is a graduated from Harvard Medical School, was an academic All-American, and was drafted into the NFL. So he's a rather impressive gentleman and doctor. So I just want to make a shout out to Dr. Terrence here in Delray. All right, gentlemen, have a good night, and we'll talk soon. Peace.
Good night.